Hi, this is Ben and Jordan's Day Off. I'm Jordan,
I'm Ben.
and this is a podcast by two best friends. I've known Ben since kindergarten, and we decided to finally come together and make a podcast together, just generally about, I guess, video games, movies, anything really in entertainment, or just what we're doing at the time.
Yeah, there's no real specific thing for it to be on. It's kind of just anything. It'll probably be a little bit awkward for our first podcast because it's weird to just talk to a microphone. It's not like you think like you watch YouTubers and you're like, no, that's not weird. You could just talk to a camera, talk to a microphone, but it is kind of weird. Like it's different.
Yeah, definitely. So we're not even sure exactly what this first episode's going to be about. I guess we could probably just talk about Spider-Man in general. I mean, it's a little late to the topic, but I feel like we could definitely still talk about it because it's something we've done recently.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we could just go off with like, how what's your like relationship with like Spider-Man? How do you feel about Spider-Man like before the game even came out? Like, what's your history with him, I guess?
Well, I've always Spider-Man's always been one of my favorite superheroes. I mean, I feel like that's kind of with everyone. Like, I don't know, Spider-Man just has so much likableness to him that I feel like I don't know. There's just I've never heard someone be like, yeah, no, I hate Spider-Man. Like he's not cool. Like I've never heard that anyone say that.
Well, definitely. I feel like, especially in our age, I feel like he's extremely relatable. Like, and that's what I loved
Yeah.
about the Spider-Man 2 movie. I feel like he's young. He balances a job, like school, having a social life of his own, and then also the family aspect. And it feels like he can't properly do everything right, which I feel like is extremely relatable.
Yeah, like especially like his love life. I mean, it's not not too relatable, but
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, like there's definitely some relatableness
Yeah.
to balancing your life and your love life and stuff like that.
And also, it feels like he has to play like a split personality because he does have Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And I think that's what we'll get into later, like about what our favorites are, or necessarily, like, and how this game does that. But I feel like he's a great character for either someone to admire the part of Spider-Man or admire the honor of, like, Peter Parker. And they blend into one person, but they're also very different in their responsibilities, you know?
Yeah, and kind of continuing on the first question because we kind of I don't know we went a little bit off topic.
Oh, yeah,
Not
definitely.
necessarily,
Definitely.
but yeah. I mean, he's just like super super awesome. Like he's just someone who I've always liked. He was actually my little brother's favorite superhero, and that's kind of how I got into him more because he would watch Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 like on repeat every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. He was kind of like he was one of my favorites, but he wasn't too much. But I feel like as I've gotten older, he's just became more
Yeah,
to me.
definitely.
Like I don't know.
I used to watch the movies actually quite a bit when I was little, and I think about it like I used to have a big like bed sheet, like I had a pillow, I had another like huge blanket, I had all the movies, I'd watch them all the time. I loved the character, and so I guess another question like preface or to present to you is like what were your expectations going into the game?
Uh, well, I expected it to be really good, especially because it was like an exclusive game, and I feel like whenever games are exclusive to any console, they kind of I don't know they bring more out to it, right? Like since it's gonna be just on one specified system, they're like, yeah, we gotta put more into this, and so um, I don't know. I thought it was gonna be great, and it turned out to be even greater than what I expected. I thought it was kind of just gonna be like the old Spider-Man games. You just swing around, beat on people, and that's. I mean, it's generally the same, but it just has more to it.
It's more like finer tuned, and
Yeah,
there's more depth to everything, I'd say.
yeah. And there's the costumes are really cool. The story is great. It brings a lot of Spider-Man's like past, like with
His like
characters
signature stuff. Like
Yeah.
I feel like the one good thing and the funny thing about Spider-Man, it's almost kind of like a soap opera, like because a character that Peter Parker deals with, Spider-Man will eventually have to deal with. You know, like in this game, it's no secret in the trailers and everything. I can't remember, Martin Lee. He runs the charity and stuff, or the feast where they feed people, homeless people and stuff. He's also one of the villains in the game, and it's that duel, like just like Spider-Man, and Spider-Man does the same thing. He as Peter Parker, he deals with Martin Lee, but as Spider-Man, he deals with Mr. Negative, you know. And I feel like they captured that signature thing so well in this game.
Yeah, and Martin Lee was a really good. He was a really good character. He had a lot of, like you like him so much of how he's portrayed, and like he his looks are off of an actor, and it looks so similar, and like I don't know, just the part is played really really well, and you kind of like, I don't know, when I was playing, like I didn't want him to be a bad guy. Like I wanted Martin Lee to be like, oh hey, you know what, I'm actually good now. Sorry, kind of messed up there. And I guess one thing that we should have said is like, spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. We're going to definitely dive heavy into the game, like just everything. But I feel like it's been long enough that if you were gonna play the game, you should have played it by now. But
we haven't really spoiled anything so far.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and throw out the warning right before we do. Yeah. But I feel like this game just nailed everything about Spider-Man so well, and I think it's personally my favorite incarnation of the character, just all across the board, and pretty much most of these characters actually. I feel like they nail everyone just to a T. Like
everyone's getting nailed.
Yeah.
I don't know. It at some points, like there are a few things that I do think are a little bit like, because it is a Spider-Man game, there is always going to be the point of where it is just fighting people and swinging around. And I don't know, to me it got a little bit tedious at some points. Like I love the game. I think it's really good, and it's definitely probably the best Spider-Man game there's been. But like, since Jordan and I, we 100%ed the game, a lot of it was just doing the challenges over and over. Like ones that, who was it, Taskmaster?
Those Taskmaster ones, man. They drove me freaking nuts.
So it got a little bit repetitive, and like, especially because I wanted to 100% it as soon as possible, that I kind of found myself more just grinding the game instead of enjoying it. And I feel like if you take a slower pace to it, it would be a lot funner, because I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I pushed it out pretty quick just because, I don't know, I was so excited for the game. I think I 100%ed it in like less than a week. And that's pretty intense for me. I don't usually play that intensely with games, but
same.
The game overall, I think, is just fantastic, because like as soon as you hop in, you feel just like Spider-Man. I feel like the web swinging is overall really great. I feel like there definitely could be more additions in like the sequel. Like one feature I do miss about the old games, like specifically Spider-Man 2 on the PS2, is you can have this, like, you can swing and then you hold X and then you launch off from the swing. I feel like that could be implemented back into the game. I feel like maybe they are saving it for the sequel, and I feel like they do a good job at just that alone. And then once you get into fighting, the combat, I think, is it's Arkham-esque, you know? It reminds me of the Batman games, but at the same time it's a lot more different. I feel like we can't keep saying that Arkham is, like, this is Arkham, you know, combat, basically, you know? Like the Shadow games, the Lord of the Rings games that have been coming out in the past few years, you know? Really familiar. You punch, you know, dodge, like, do reversals and stuff like that. And there's a bunch of upgrade trees. But I feel like this game was a lot more swift, and you felt quick. You felt a lot like Spider-Man, and they captured the character so well in just that, like the combat.
Yeah, and it did give you a lot of different, like, spider gear and things to be able to use. And
You know what's funny actually is I didn't use the gadgets up until like halfway through the game,
Yeah,
just because I feel like they weren't like shown off enough or like given reason to use.
really, yeah, it kind of was just like, hey, you unlock this, here you go. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like, this is how you use it, do it like this. Like there was never like a tutorial or like an example, which I mean could be nice to some players because some people probably
Yeah.
don't like that. They're like, oh, I don't want to sit through a tutorial. But I think if they just kind of made it a little bit more into the gameplay, I think that would have been perfect. Like if when you had to use like a spider drone, it was like use the spider drone at this point in your mission because it deals with like a specific type of like henchman. Like this
Yeah.
one is more vulnerable to this type of
Especially
spider attack.
Yeah, like I feel like they could have shown it in a more strategic way.
Yeah.
Because there are some that I feel like do really good crowd control, like the one that like levitates people, basically shoot it
Yeah.
and it holds them in the air. I feel like that works wonders when you're being overwhelmed by like 10 plus people.
Yeah, I'd use that a lot on the Taskmaster challenges where you have to fight a bunch of people. Like a whole group would come out of like a certain stage, and I would try to just blow them all up and then like web bomb them and use all the abilities and just spam it.
Yeah, definitely. I the gadgets I did a New Game Plus run through,
Mhm.
and I wanted to beat it fairly quick because the DLC is coming out. It was coming out, and so that was when you start up the game, and you have all your abilities and all your shoots and all that. And I found myself on the hardest difficulty, but it wasn't that hard. But what I would do is I just spam the the all the gadgets pretty much, like especially
Yeah.
the spider drones, like it was fairly easy the second playthrough, the New Game Plus run through. I feel like it was fairly easy.
Yeah, and I kind of think that's what it's for. Like
Yeah.
because since you have everything, they're probably they want you to like. Obviously, they want there to be some like replay value, and I guess maybe if you have everything, it just makes it a bit quicker at that point. Like, I think you could definitely replay the game, but personally, I didn't replay it because it's just
I could
I, don't know,
definitely
I couldn't grind it out again.
I get you.
It's just not me.
Definitely.
But I think to some people, it definitely does have some replay value, so it's not bad, and I think it's something where if you just got in a mood to play Spider-Man, you could definitely just pick it up and play. Or if you wait like a year and then you want to play again, like it's definitely a fun game. So it's not like you're gonna just set it down and never play it over again.
Yeah, I'd definitely say if you were to be presented with the idea of New Game Plus for this game specifically, I'd say it's like a 50-50. If you love the game that much, then go ahead, but
Yeah.
there wasn't much reward for it. It was the trophies. That was like really all you get rewarded for. But anyways, let's get back to like just the normal game. What was like who was your favorite character, I guess?
I mean, I really liked Miles Morales
Oh
because
yeah.
it was kind of cool to see him because he's gaining more popularity. Like for a while, it's just been Peter Parker and that's it. And I don't know, just kind of seeing him and seeing how his character is developing and how it's going to. I kind of want to see if it kind of expands more on the DLC since I haven't played it yet, but I'm hoping that it does. If not, I guess it's fine. It might be in the later coming DLCs, but yeah, I just think it's cool to see him and you play as him a couple times. I mean, you don't really do too much, but you kind of just get a feel for him and you kind of get his character and what he'd be like if he was Spider-Man. But,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, you kind of just get a feel for it.
What was your least favorite part of the game?
So honestly, when you're fighting the Sinister Six, that I liked it, but I didn't. I thought it could have been a little bit more, I don't know, thought out. I thought it was kind of like you just fought him and it didn't really have too much to it. Like you just beat him really fast.
Yeah, there wasn't.
You know?
There are scenes where they kind of get fleshed out all the characters and stuff, and it makes them interesting. But it just feels like they came and go so quickly, and especially
Right.
on my second playthrough, I noticed literally all their fights are almost the exact same fight. Like
Yeah,
just
right.
kind of not reskinned, but like just in slightly different variation. But Yeah,
True.
they're all generally the same. I felt like,
Yeah,
which was kind of disappointing.
and a lot of them were kind of just like, I don't know. You do the same thing over and over to beat certain villains. Like when you're when you're in the air and you're fighting Electro and Falcon,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of just swing around in circles and then you pick up things, throw it at. I think it's Electron. Is that his name? Electro.
Electro.
Yeah.
You just said Electro,
I know,
right? Too.
I know. I don't know why. Electron and Neutron. No, but yeah, you kind of just you swing around and you throw things at him, and then he gets hit, and he's like, "Ah, you hit me," and it's like, "Okay," and then you do it like 5 times, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm dead now," and you're like, "Okay, cool." And that's
Yeah,
it.
no, it really is because like you have to shoot like their generators, and I don't know why he's carrying generators with him, but they're
Right.
generators that he like takes electricity from,
It's kind of
and you
like
have
it's like a plot hole
yeah
almost in a movie.
yeah.
It's like
It's like where
this is
did
the
that
thing that'll
generator just come from?
yeah. It's like this is the thing that'll beat me. Here it is. Don't use it though, and then you use
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was kind of the same with Rhino, as I recall. Like you just throw shit at him, and then he'd be like, "Oh, I'm mad
No,
now."
actually, well, kind of, I guess. But Rhino, he has to run and land like in a specific spot, and you pull the like crates down, like,
Yeah,
and
but
they hit him in the head, and then you
then
web
he
over
gets
to him
yeah,
and beat him up. But with
and that's very similar to all the other.
with all of them, with
You do
Electro,
one thing to beat him, and that's it.
yeah, with Electro, you shoot the generator thing, and then I believe he gets stunned, and then you web over to him, hit him, and then Vulture's, almost said Falcon, Vulture, he
I think
goes
I
at
called him
you,
Falcon.
he goes to hit you, and then you press like triangle, and you dodge him, and then you wipe to him and just punch him. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of the same thing, rinse and repeat, and like the final boss especially, it's kind of like the same thing overall. Like
What about was it Scorpion? Is that his name?
Scorpions.
What was his? Because I know he had the
He was with-
stinger.
He would like try and hit you, and you would dodge. Believe very quickly. No, you'd web him up. You'd just web really quickly, and then
Right,
you'd
right.
beat him up. Like
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like
think
that was, like,
his was a
probably-
little bit more fleshed out because you got the thing where you get stabbed
yeah,
or what would you
the
say?
stinger.
Stung.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get stung and then you kind of trip out and you like swing around the city and there's like ooze and
that was fun. That
monsters.
reminded me a lot of what's his name from Arkham City, Ra's al Ghul. Like
Oh
his
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
He does a lot of weird, trippy stuff and takes you to like different dimensions and stuff.
Right.
That's where I started to get like some more Arkham City vibes. But I
Mhm.
think my least favorite part of the game, especially replaying it through, I was just like beelined it right through them, was all the stealth sections.
Right. Well,
They sucked.
yeah, they once you got a hang of it, like if you just got into a pattern, it got really easy. Like
It was literally just like, well, they would set all the NPCs up in like the perfect spot for you to just walk through,
Right.
basically.
And
I mean,
when-
it's more of like a cinematic moment, I guess you would say, but like
right.
it's to make you feel interactive in a cinematic moment. But at the same time, I just feel like it was kind of like a lazy gameplay
Right.
implementation.
And it was kind of like it would kind of just like recycle. Like you'd go in and say if you messed up, then you'd be like, okay, I just don't do that this time, or like
Yeah.
I just need to go a little bit slower, and then you'd like I would always go in the same order. Like I would like sling one guy, sling one guy, sling one guy, and I'd keep going, and then if I messed up, and I'm like, oh, okay, then I just got to redo it. Go in the same order, but instead of getting that guy, I'll get the next guy.
You're talking about like the stealth challenges. I was talking about Mary Jane and like
Oh,
what's his name, Miles Morales' part.
yeah, those were also
Those were boring.
Yeah, they really were.
Like
and
overall.
like one thing I really didn't like is when Mary Jane goes to Kingpin's. It's Kingpin, right?
Yeah. Which part? I don't remember.
When you go and you take pictures in the.
Oh yeah, the
You're
little
taking pictures
art
of everything?
museum thing.
Yeah, it's Kingpin. It's Kingpin.
Yeah.
You're just taking pictures of art, and it's like, yeah, you get to use the camera feature, and it's like cool. You get a little bit of detail on some of the art, but it's like none of it really matters. And it's they
Yeah.
kind of just like we're like, it's pretty much like someone was like, hey, we should have them play as Mary Jane, and they're like, what the fuck would we do if you're Mary Jane? Like, there's no. It's like, what is she gonna fight people? And it's like, no, we can't have her fight people. Let's have her take pictures. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, sure. And they just threw it in. Like it
Exactly.
wasn't.
And that's
wasn't
the thing.
crucial.
The thing is, like, there's really no, as I recall, yeah, there's different moments, but I feel like, you can look at Miles Morales and look at Mary Jane, and they play the exact same way. They're
Right.
just there for stealth stuff. Like there's
They're
really
just
no
reskinned pretty much.
yeah
Same thing,
they're-
but just
yeah,
different
and
character.
just in different moments to forward the plot, you know. And so I felt that was probably like one of the most like lazy things.
Yeah.
But definitely, I feel like those are most of my gripes, like right out of the way. Honestly,
Yeah.
I really don't see much else wrong with the game. But,
Oh,
but what about
definitely.
you? Is there anything else?
Well, I mean, just going on like the fact of playing Mary Jane, there's one part that actually is really cool where Spider-Man's crawling around and you like
Oh, yeah.
choose out who to pick, and you see Spider-Man, you see him like crawling on the ceiling and stuff like that. And
It's
I thought
kinda-
that was cool. It
yeah.
kind of made like playing Mary Jane more fun because it interacted with Spider-Man.
It gives you like a whole different perspective, and
and you get just seeing him walk around, like because obviously
you're
been
always
playing
playing as
Spider-Man,
him, yeah.
but now you're
but
gonna
seeing
see him.
yeah.
Right,
So it's
right.
a lot cooler.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it was kind of lame to play as Miles Morales and Mary Jane. They didn't really have too much to them. Another thing that I kind of had issues with, like it wasn't really issues. It was more just like I thought it was funny when you were wearing specific skins in cutscenes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it looked so dumb.
It was. I feel like that's a.
It's not like a flaw. It's like it's just kind of funny. Like it didn't fit some of the story when you have like Spider-Man in like just his underwear walking
Yeah.
in, and you're like, what the?
Yeah.
But I mean,
I get you definitely.
but it works.
Especially because there's one great moment. Spoiler alert, semi. But there's one great moment where Peter's in Mary Jane's apartment.
Yeah,
And he's cooking food, and then he comes back from the kitchen wearing like a whatever costume you're wearing, and it's like this hilarious moment to just see him like he's like I gotta go, like, and it's just funny.
It's like you would if he just came out in his normal costume, like if you have that equipped, it's like, oh, okay, that's fine, makes sense. But if you have any other costume, it's kind of like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I mean, a few of them are okay, but
it's
I don't know. A
it's
few
funny.
also were not okay, and you're like,
Yeah.
what the? But that's not really an issue because it's more just it's just funny. Like it doesn't hurt the story at all. You're not like, oh no, he's wearing the wrong costume. No.
Did you buy into, like, kind of going off that one scene, but did you buy the chemistry between Peter Parker and Mary Jane?
I did. It's like it's nice to see that they aren't all lovey-dovey because in pretty much any time you see them, they're always lovey-dovey. They're go get him, Tiger. You know, like
Yeah.
all that. So it was kind of cool to see them kind of like rekindling their relationship this time instead of just being perfect together, you know?
Yeah. What I think I loved was, like, Peter Parker, he's always seemed like the more important person in the relationship.
Right.
But this time around, it feels like Mary Jane's telling him how things should be done too. And she's making herself just as important of a character and also in that relationship. And they dispute a few times throughout the game, like, that she is
The sidekick.
in, like,
pretty
she's
much.
yeah, that she doesn't want to be known as that, but like she wants to be more independent and like more. It makes it seem more realistic in the comparison of, like, you look at like Amazing Spider-Man 2 where Gwen Stacy, she just like comes in at the end of that movie and she's like, I can help you, and there's like huge villains that are obviously lethal, like Electro, and like
Yeah.
he's just blowing up everything, and then
Like,
she's
what
like,
are you
I
gonna
can
do?
help you, like, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it seems completely ridiculous in that like moment, but in this game I feel like they did a good job at making her seem like she's just as strong in a way, or she has a lot more to add to the
Right.
mix.
Right. I mean, I agree with that, but also I don't at the same time because it's like she's like important, obviously, but then you fucking play as her and you're walking around taking pictures. Like,
Yeah, I get you. They
maybe
didn't
if she
do that.
did more, but it's not like. But it's like, what would she do? Because if you have her knocking out bad guys, then it's kind of like
Yeah, it's completely over
it's,
the top.
it's like
It just
no,
that
doesn't
people
work.
would start complaining that that's not her character, you know?
Right. So it's like it's kind of hard because I feel like they have to balance it out. So I
Yeah.
feel like they don't want the game to just be straight up action all the time, always Spider-Man fighting.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they gave it like the stealth aspects, the playing as Mary Jane, the playing as Miles Morales, and stuff like that.
Yeah. But spoiler alert, they end up getting together for the game, the end of the game. You know, they
Wait,
he's
do they get together or they're like talking about it, right?
yeah, they're like, well, he's like, well, yeah, I don't really, I still don't have a place to stay. I've been staying at Miles's house, like, and then she's like, well, you can stay at my apartment, and like, he's like, oh, really? He's like, well, like, would we just like sleep together? And then like it gets like completely awkward.
Does it
like,
say that? I can't.
yeah,
I didn't
I
remember
believe
that.
that's like where it leads to, and like they get completely awkward about it, and it's generally pretty cute and it's funny.
Yeah, and you know they're gonna smash.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's like I'm not gay, but I'd smash Spider-Man. Like, come on. I don't. It's like
I mean, look at that face.
right.
But
No, but
the voice
honestly.
actor actually for Spider-Man, he's great. I thought he
Yeah.
was perfect. Probably one of the like my favorite voices I've heard for Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
I agree. He really fit it well. Like I think at first, I think it's something that grows on you, and I feel like that's with a lot of voice acting. Like you hear someone's voice and you're like, oh, okay, and then it keeps going. You're like, okay, that's good.
Oh yeah.
And I especially think of with like major like big popular characters that have a lot of different voice actors. It's kind of that way, because if it's like some random person in a TV show that's like the only character that's ever been that character,
Yeah.
then it's like okay, that's fine. His voice is fine. You know.
Mhm. I feel like, well, actually, did you know that the main dude who plays Peter Parker, I think he's done work in like Naruto, like one of the Naruto video games, and he's done actually quite a bit of stuff like I'd never imagine, you know.
Right.
But overall, I feel like the voice acting actually in this game is fantastic. Like across the board, everyone was really good, honestly.
Can you think of games where the voice acting is bad?
Uh,
I remember playing one and it was legit just the worst voice acting. Like not necessarily that the voice actors were bad, but like the mouths wouldn't match up with
Yeah.
the voices and
I get you.
the mouths would be moving.
That was like all PS2 games, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, it's like you thought it was like pretty good when you were little, or just back when you would play on that, you're like, yeah, this is pretty good. And when you look at it now, you're like, what
Yeah.
is this?
But you know, I feel like they did a really good job in this one overall.
Right.
Like just the people's voices matched their characters, and it didn't seem too different or just weird. You know.
Yeah, nothing was like too out of the blue, and nothing was too the same for it to be like boring. They kind of, just make it different.
Yeah.
Speaking of voice actors, though, the guy who does, do you know the guy who does Optimus Prime also voices Predator?
Really.
Like he's the one who
That's
makes
weird.
it like the, there's no way I could do it, but
Yeah.
you know the Predator
Uh-huh.
noises, yeah.
That's crazy.
And I've been trying to say I am Optimus Prime, like how he says it, and it's legit the most impossible thing ever. I just can't. Like, you want to try?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
god-awful,
you'll be
yeah.
embarrassed because it's really hard to do.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Yeah, that's kind of off topic, but I don't know. I think voice acting is essential to a lot of things, and I think it's really cool.
I feel like it's almost more difficult because you start to. It's kind of odd because you have to put yourself in that position, whereas
right.
I feel like normal acting, you just kind of the actions to make, what to do, so you just perform them,
And it's like you're the character.
Yeah,
because they film it and it's you. But if it's voice acting, it's like it's just your voice. It's not what you look like.
But I feel like recently with like mocap becoming a lot better and bigger, like I think Naughty Dog was like one of the first to like hugely do it with the Uncharted series. They pretty much, put you in balls and stuff, and then it graphs you and like records you, and
oh yeah,
just watching all the stuff for like Last of Us behind the scenes and stuff, it really adds to the moments. And these voice actors are becoming more like normal actors in a weird way.
I mean, it's like I don't know. It's cool both ways. Like even when you see just someone in real life, and then you see a video game like of them, like
Yeah.
they're put in. It's like wow, that's really cool.
That's
like
pretty
with
spot on, yeah.
what is it, the Hideo Kojima? Is that how you say his name? With that guy from Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, with Norman Reedus.
Is that his name in the?
Yeah, Norman Reedus is his real name.
What's his name in
Daryl something.
Daryl? Okay, yeah. Yeah, like when you look at that and you're like, wow, that's like
Insane.
that's so similar. Like I'm surprised that they're able to do it so well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's crazy.
What, I guess, like, what would you give this game in, like, total? Like, where does it rank on, like, do you think it's one of your favorite, like, games on the PS4? Do you think it's one of your favorite games? Like, where does it range in your scale? Like, your...
I would say it's definitely up there, and a lot of the reason why it's up there is just because I love Spider-Man so much.
Definitely,
like,
yeah.
It's definitely not the greatest game of all time. Like, it's nothing. I don't even want to name games because I find nothing to be the greatest because there's so many flaws in anything, and
I get you.
Anyone has opinions.
Yeah, I feel like this game's not the greatest. It's not revolutionary,
Right.
but it's so refined, and it feels like it was worked on with love and care, and like everything
Right.
feels pretty sharp for the most part.
Right, and it feels like the people who made it like Spider-Man. Like, it didn't seem like it was a job. Like, I mean, obviously it's a job, and obviously I wasn't there with them, but it just seems like there was more put into it than a lot of games where it's like for example, when you think of Call of Duty, you don't think of people who are like, yeah, I love Call of Duty, whoa, you know, like, obviously they probably like Call of Duty since they're making it, but I don't know, it doesn't have the same love because it's not like a beloved character like Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, but I feel like Insomniac, the studio that made this game, was so perfect for this game because if you look at their game right before it, it was I'm not quite sure actually. I may have messed this up, but it could have been Ratchet and Clank the remake.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, it was Sunset Overdrive, which was the exclusive for the Xbox One when it came out, and it was the way it moves. It was very Spider-Man like. It was very grinding on stuff and then jumping off from it and then grinding on other things,
Very, like,
and
artsy,
very
kinda.
cartoony and over the top, and a lot of gadgets. And I think that's where the gadgets specifically come in from their past history with the Ratchet and Clank games and upgrading your weapons and just progressing and stuff. So I feel like this studio, on top of that, like, also from what I've heard, loved the character a lot, and that's why they picked it up. They wanted to do it because I believe Sony and Insomniac and then Marvel had to do like a three-way deal, and it was a lot of, hey, is this okay? Can we put this in our game?
Right.
And is this okay? And is this okay? And they didn't have a lot of problems. It wasn't a lot of like back and forth or anything. It was just pretty, everyone was pretty open and nice about it. It wasn't one of those things where, like, for example, like Spider-Man 3, where
Yeah.
Sam Raimi wants to make this one Spider-Man movie with Sandman, but then Sony's like, hey, how about Venom, though? You know, they
Right.
just, like, forced it down his throat, like, on that movie, so.
I mean, on the topic of Spider-Man 3, I don't think it's that bad. I'm just saying, because
It's
everyone
really,
says it's terrible.
it's
I
not.
watched it recently. It's not the worst. It holds up, but it's not like... Yeah, I mean, it's nothing like, wow, that's amazing, you know, 10 out of 10.
One of these days we'll have to do an episode just about, like, the Spider-Man films. Like, honestly, all of them.
Right.
Because recently I just went through them, and my ranking, like, completely almost flipped in a weird way. Like, it's completely odd, but I do agree with you. Spider-Man 3 is not the worst of them.
I think it's like... I think fans like it. Like, not like movie critics. Like, I think if they watch it, then obviously...
Oh, yeah, you
Like-
can tear that
like
that
Spider-Man-
movie just
Like, when
apart.
Tobey Maguire has the black suit on and he's, like, walking around dancing and, like, snapping his fingers and stuff, it's like...
Yeah, it's a major cringe. There's
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
wrong with that film, but there's also some decent things that had a lot of potential that I could see if they made a fourth film. It was good setup, like,
Right.
and they were pretty subtle with it back then.
Yeah, and, like, just on that topic, doesn't it just make you so sad that there's, like, so many rights to everything? Like, Sony owns Spider-Man,
Oh,
Sony
yeah.
owns this, like, this and this, like, just with anything. Because it's so... You wish that there could be... who's the person playing Spider-Man now?
Oh, Tom Holland.
Yeah, like, you wish... Personally, I wish there could be Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire. Like, I wish they could make Spider-Man 4, like Sam Raimi's, and still have the story, you know, with Tom Holland and everything like that. Like, I don't think it would ruin the character. Like, it's just more content. Like, obviously some will be rated better than others, but I don't know, it's just sad because there's so many things that could be made, but won't be made because
Mm-hmm.
of just owning rights and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, a theory going on around like right now is you know, the Into the Spider-Verse movie that's coming out in like December. It's
Right.
all animated and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen the trailers, but there's like an older Spider-Man that people are saying is like supposed to be Tobey Maguire. Yeah,
Honestly,
which is interesting.
In the trailer, it kind of seems like it.
It would be interesting. That would be cool. I'm excited for the movie.
That
I
would
definitely
be
want to go see
cool.
that.
And like it'd probably give a little bit of closure to like
Yeah.
Sam Raimi's, but
Definitely.
I don't know. Would they do that though?
What a bitter ending for that like trilogy.
Yeah.
Like I think personally, Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi, the original, is the best. I think that's the best one by miles.
I like Spider-Man 1 a lot just because it has a lot of like just nostalgia.
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 Yeah,
Nostalgia.
definitely.
How do you
Nostalgia.
nostalgia? I don't know. Just the word. Once you mess up on a word, it's like
Oh,
what?
yeah, you
How
can't
do
say it. No.
But yeah, it kind of just has a lot of nostalgia for me. Honestly, I don't even think the Amazing Spider-Man movies are that bad. I know you don't like them, but
See, we'll get on this on another day, but like
why get on another day? Come on, we got time to kill. Let's hear it.
the
Let's
the
hear it.
films, I feel like 1 and 2, Amazing Spider-Man. I used to abysmally hate Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man 2,
Right.
and so does the internet. But Amazing Spider-Man 1 is the worst Spider-Man film there is. It is so boring and just lifeless and empty, and Andrew Garfield doesn't look the part. He doesn't sound the part. He's a complete a-hole Spider-Man in that movie. And
Yeah,
like
he really is.
and the chemistry between him and Gwen Stacy still doesn't feel quite as good as it does in the second film, and it's just boring. It's a boring movie. Yes, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is really weird, and they just mashed up all these tones, like Electro's in a whole different movie.
Right.
He's in a goofy, like, 90s movie, and then you got Green Goblin. He's just a dumb, serious villain that is taken way too seriously, and he does dumb things. Like, he's expecting Peter to go get blood from Spider-Man so he can cure himself, which is just completely off the
And the
charts, and
actor-
especially because it'd been
actor.
8 years. Like, he hadn't seen this guy for like 8 years. He hasn't talked to him or anything, and it's just like 8 years later, he's like, "Hey man, you want to give me some blood from Spider-Man?" And like, what kind of request is that from a friend you haven't talked to in 8 years and you don't know that well anymore?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that definitely is really weird. It's like if I came to you and I was like, "Hey, man, can you give me some hair from your mom? Can you give me some hair from your mom? I need it for a project." Like, yeah, it's a weird ass thing to ask.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think so. Definitely, like I said, it's the movie. They aren't the greatest. I like them. But I like them more just for like the entertainment value and just seeing Spider-Man. Now there are parts that are cringy and stuff, and they're weird. Like, the one particular part where Spider-Man's kind of like finding himself, and he's trying to find the murderer of Uncle Ben, and he's looking for blonde guys with a tattoo on their wrist, and he's just looking around, and he keeps finding more and more, but like obviously none of them are it until later on. But he's just a huge jackass. Like he's
completely reckless, and
he webs the guy to the wall. Like he like webs one arm, then the other arm, then the guy's talking, and then he webs his face, and the guy can't even breathe, and then he cuts open the mouth hole at the last second for him to breathe, and it's like, what? Spider-Man wouldn't do that. Like, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly. He's supposed to be mad, but like, I feel like they drag out that sequence a lot too long, and especially because we're all sick of seeing that storyline. It's drawn out, and just at this point, it almost feels cliche because everyone knows it. It's almost like Batman's parents dying. Everyone knows it, so there's no reason to retread and just cover same ground. But like, let's just go overall. Like, what does this game like is it your favorite Spider-Man story? Like, let's include like just the movies too. Like, does this game top those films and story?
Um, I'd say the original Spider-Man series is my favorite, just because it's
Which one? In specific, like which film?
Tobey Maguire.
Just the first film?
Oh no, well I mean like the whole series. I mean the first film in general, because that's my favorite, and then the second one's up there with it. But if I was gonna say like series wise, because it's like the same universe of Spider-Man,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like
I guess the story does draw across all three.
yeah. Well, I just mean like no, I mean like Spider-Man in the first 3 movies that came out. That's one universe, and then like the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. That's a universe. This game is a universe. The old games. I mean, the old games kind of tie into the movie, right?
Yeah.
But I'd say the original 3 kind of are up there for number 1 for me, just because they're, I don't know, they're just the best. I think they just with nostalgia. Tobey Maguire's great. Kristen Dunst is good. James Franco as.
I'm like on
Do
the
you not like-
rewatch.
do you
on
like-
the rewatch, like I feel like Kristen Dunst, or I think her name is Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, I think
Is it Kirsten? I don't know.
I think it's Kirsten.
Um,
It's not
if I'm
Kristen.
saying it wrong, I feel bad, but
whatever.
I feel like she's not that good, and most of the time,
I like her in the
I feel
beginning.
like she's selfish.
Right. I like her in the earlier movies, but in like Spider-Man 3, I don't like her.
Yeah.
In Spider-Man 3, I don't like her at all. I'm like, come on.
And then, freaking James Franco, he's a joke the whole time. I feel like he's
Really? You
he's
don't like him?
Yeah, rewatching it recently. He's funny. It's funny watching him like the whole time.
I like him. I think he fits the role well. Like, I think I agree. He is a little bit funny, and it's not perfect, but I like it. It's not like Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. Sorry,
Well,
names.
I feel like in retrospect, like looking at James Franco, like I know him for Pineapple Express, like 127 Hours,
yeah,
like all
yeah.
just those jokey movies with Seth Rogen. So looking at him in retrospect, it's kind of funny just seeing like, wow, like
I like how you say
Okay.
jokey movies and you say 127
yeah,
hours.
well, you know what,
Real funny, dude.
But anyways, I feel like honestly, the game is possibly my favorite story of any Spider-Man.
I'd say it's
Any
my
story.
second.
I think it might be right behind Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is so emotional. It covers does a lot of the same stuff actually, but I feel like the Spider-Man game does a really great job
Right. I agree.
because I feel like it's emotional. He's going through a lot like in this game, and not only him, but like Miles Morales, the city.
Right.
Spoiler alert: Doc Ock,
Yeah.
Otto Octavius.
It's
They flesh out his
that
character
was
and
one
Norman
thing that was,
Osborn
like,
really well.
That was one thing I really liked, because a lot of times with Doc Ock, you kind of just see him as the villain, and it's like he's gonna be the villain because obviously he's Doc Ock. Like there's no way he's not the villain. Like for a little bit, I thought someone else might steal the tentacle arms and become Doc Ock, and it wasn't gonna be him. And I thought that would be actually pretty cool. Like that'd be a pretty big twist.
I was expecting it like from the beginning. Honestly, I didn't know he was actually in the game. I didn't watch it. Like, I guess I did watch the trailers, but they don't present him in it. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, okay. I was waiting for his arc to be fulfilled, basically, and wait for him to become it. And seeing him like almost descent into madness was actually really cool.
Right, yeah, and that's what I was about to say. Like, just kind of seeing him progress, and like seeing the things he goes through, where it's like he's lacking funding, and then Norman Osborn like takes all of his research. I know I messed up his name a little bit. You're laughing at me, but yeah, I don't know. It's just like watching him progress. Like you watch anyone progress through a series, it's just kind of cool to see what they end up like.
Yeah, I feel like they do a semi-decent job of making it seem realistic for a superhero game. But I feel like they do a pretty good job because They flesh out it, and it all connects, which is the typical Spider-Man way. They all connect.
Yeah, like
You
a
got
web.
like yeah, but you got like Norman Osborn connecting to Otto Octavius, and they're what created like Devil's Breath, which is what made Mr. Negative, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it all connects, but eventually Osborn turned on Otto, and it just completely flipped things. And so at this point, I feel like it was a really good job at seeing these characters' betrayal and their redemption, and just seeing them try and overcome their issues overall.
Yeah, one thing that I was kind of wondering, well, not necessarily wondering, but just kind of wondering, what did you think of Aunt May? Because I played the whole game, really quickly in like 48 hours. It probably took me like 3 days to 100% it. And when I was playing it, I was sad when she died, and it was upsetting. But I'm kind of wondering like if it was only upsetting because I played it so quickly. Like if someone were to be more casual and they maybe played like an hour or 2 hours a day,
I know.
was it even that sad?
I feel like it would have been the same impact because Aunt May, she's a vital character in Peter's life, and you could see the admiration and appreciation from him alone. How much he tells her he needs her, and she also says, "I need you." Like, it's a very equal relationship between the two, and I feel like by the end of it, you're more mourning for Peter than Aunt May because it's
Right.
You know exactly what he lost, and he doesn't really have anyone to look up to anymore. He is his own role model at that point, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, that I definitely agree with that. It was when Aunt May dies, it definitely is more sad for Peter. But like, there wasn't really the sadness of Aunt May dying. Like, it wasn't like, oh no, we lost a major character. Like, it was like, oh no,
But I feel like
Aunt
it was
May's gone.
it was the correct way to say goodbye to such a vital character. At the same time, I was like, oh shit, they just killed Aunt May, But they did it in such a good way that it wasn't disrespectful to the character and to fans of the character, Like,
Right. The Aunt May fans.
well, I mean, there are people that would be upset even if they killed off, like, Aunt May in just a whatever way, They'd be like, well, that's not right, Complete hardcore fanbook, or fanboy comic book.
Yeah.
Comic book fanboys. I totally messed that up. But,
Jeez.
yeah. I feel like overall, like, this game might be my favorite PlayStation 4 exclusive so far. I didn't beat God of War.
You didn't beat God of War?
No, I didn't. I played.
How far in are you?
I don't know, man. I know that game has a lot of content, and
Are you ever gonna finish it?
yeah, I definitely actually want to go back to it. But right now, Red Dead's out, so
Yeah, I like how I'm
And-
hassling you, but
yeah,
You're farther
I
than
got
me in God of
further
War?
than you. Yeah. It was a great game for what I was playing, and they developed the characters well in God of War, but I don't know. It's one of those moments. I am the type of person that plays games, and then, like, sometimes I just drop them for some reason.
I drop games all the time.
Yeah.
That's all I do. Like, I'll play. I remember with like Fallout. What was the one? The Fallout where they're in the city and it's like. It's like, it's a part of Fallout, but it's a kind of like a
Fallout
whole
New
different
Vegas?
story. No. It's like a whole different story. They're in the Sky Cities.
Bro, are you talking about freaking, whatchamacallit, Bioshock?
Oh no! Is that what it is?
Yes!
Bioshock.
Bioshock Infinite.
Oh shit! Yeah, that is what I mean.
Oh,
I don't know why I was
no.
saying Fallout. I meant to say Bioshock. Like, I had Bioshock, like,
Now you just sound
visions
like an
in my
old
head.
man.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
But I had, like, those visions of that in my head, but I don't know. For some reason,
You
Fallout came
totally
to mind.
messed that up.
But
Now
yeah,
You just seem like a fool.
I bought that game, and I didn't beat it for, like, months, and I just had it sitting there. And then I just beat the whole game in one sitting.
Oh, yeah. But, I feel like Spider-Man is a definite pickup. You just want to get that game. It's my favorite PS4 exclusive, I think. It doesn't invent the wheel or anything. It doesn't do anything completely revolution, but it's a game worth $60 at least.
Oh yeah, it's definitely something you'd want to pick up.
Definitely.
Yeah, so it definitely is worth the buy, especially if you're gonna want just a Spider-Man game. Like it's definitely probably one of the best ones that has been made. Do you agree with that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure
definitely.
You would, since you.
Yeah, it's the best Spider-Man game.
Yeah, for sure. So if you like Spider-Man, definitely get it. If you like fighting games, I think like not like Street Fighter, but like kind of just like
in line of like the Arkham games and Shadow of Mordor and all that.
Yeah, like if you like those games, then I think you'll like this one for sure. Yeah, so just I would definitely pick it up if you if you enjoy Spider-Man. But this is gonna be what are you laughing at? But this is gonna be the end of this.
The first episode.
Yeah. This definitely isn't like the layout we'll go with for future.
Yeah, nothing's truly set in stone here. We'll start to look through for a schedule.
Right.
And maybe even a better layout for the show. Today we just kind of rambled.
Yeah, and we might not even necessarily ever get like a set in stone like schedule of how every show or every episode will be there.
Yeah.
There definitely will be kind of
It'll
like
just
some
be vague
random
topics.
Moments. Yeah, and we definitely do kind of get off topic, but I feel like that's kind of nice. It kind of just depends.
Definitely.
If you do want any like specific thing for us to talk about, like
just go ahead and recommend it. We'll probably start doing questions as well.
Yeah, and so there will be future episodes, and we also will interview people. I mean, not necessarily interview them, but just bring them on.
Yeah, we'll have guests.
Yeah, just to make it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, so that's basically it.
Yeah, thank you for listening to Ben and Jordan's Day Off, and we'll see you again.